global organization with 160 chapters across the world. It was founded by the fathers of the internet, Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn, as well as many other internet pioneers who recognized that the internet would become critical infrastructure, complex and difficult to govern. The Internet Society Canada chapter advocates on behalf of Canadian citizens for an affordable, accessible, and open internet. So now I would like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors. Our gold sponsor is the Internet Society North America chapter, or region bureau. Mark Buell is the bureau chief, and he's a huge supporter of our chapter. And I would especially like to thank our presenting sponsor, Intuit. We have Rodney McDonald here, who is head of global policy for Intuit Canada and Intuit France. And I'd like to invite him up to say a few words.
Thanks, Franca. Yes. This would have looked a lot more polished with a podium, but it'll have to be what it'll be. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to sponsor the Internet Society. And I promise this sermon will not last more than 5 minutes. So just so you know. So I have no special insights into the unknown frontiers of AI, and I'm not going to be the guy in the Terminator movie who yells, "I told you it was a bad idea," as he's being disintegrated. I'll happily defer that glory to my fellow panelists, or the panelists. So what I can tell you is that Intuit spends a lot of time thinking about how people work and how we can use technology to create a platform to make their financial lives more productive. And we're probably best known by our big brands, TurboTax, Mint, and QuickBooks, for anyone who's not familiar with our corporate name. And we've shifted our sort of technological imagination radically since 1983 when we were founded. Back then, a better financial experience was something as simple as being able to print a valid check off your dot matrix printer, which you still had to put in the mail and send somewhere. You can laugh, but that was our killer app at the time in 1983. So the thinking behind AI was still taking shape, and the technology itself was strictly the stuff of science fiction. When I was preparing for this, I thought it might be nice to look at what real futurists were saying back in 1983, or back in 1980, and the New York Times sat down with its own panel of futurists to look at the next millennium, and one of them made this prediction: robots will tackle menial chores. Maids, however, will probably persist. You can program a vacuum cleaner to retrace its steps, but if the baby gets in the way, too bad for the baby. That's right, AI was so far-fetched they couldn't even wrap their heads around the Roomba. The technology has come a long way since then, and so have we as a company. Today, we're fully invested in AI to drive every part of our platform, and as we learn what AI means, our business model is also becoming more intelligent. Back in about 2013, we had a huge shift in strategy from being a closed platform, a closed desktop provider of solutions, and trying to predict what businesses needed and wanted and figure out what was in our wheelhouse and develop and sell that, to an open platform AI-driven model over the past 5 years that has allowed close to 1,000 apps to be developed on top of our platform to leverage our small business data insights and create innovative solutions to address the needs of what small businesses want. So, like I said, in 2013, when we made our data available, we had 2 apps at the end of that year, and this year we're approaching 1,000. So instead of trying to be all things to all people, Intuit focuses on the things we do best to deliver value to our customers. We're connecting people, for example, our key core clients of chartered accountants with our other core clients of small businesses to help accountants become advisors and pull out insights from the data instead of just being number crunchers. So it's really revolutionizing that profession. So, and then as we connect those small businesses, we're actually helping FIs leverage the data of their books to help them gain access to credit facilities that the big FIs wouldn't normally give them because they don't have the same level of insight into how that small business is doing. And that partnership is now so widespread that we're partnered with 20,000 financial institutions globally. So that's really happened in the past 5 years, and all because we've shifted our mindset to be more open. I'm going to skip some of my bullet points here, but so I just want to say that this shift in strategy, I think for this room doesn't sound radical, but for a lot of big tech players from the Valley, they're still trying to protect their data. We certainly see in the Canadian financial services sector, the big FIs are still trying to protect your transaction data as their own. And that's really limiting the kind of magic that can happen when you take on sort of an app store mentality. And we no longer want to hoard that data. In fact, we think of that, we don't even think of that data as ours, but it's the consumers who let us use it. And we understand how much more valuable data can be when it's open. Open data can provide an innovative platform to differentiate the use cases of what each small business wants. So I doubt that any of this was in the long-term plan of our founders back in 1983. But once they got over their fear of losing their children to an AI-driven vacuum cleaner, I'm sure if they could have conceived of it, they would have approved. So I look forward to the rest of the discussion. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Rodney, and thank you again.